Welcome back to Midco Sports. Tonight at the water cooler, talking about a big basketball game, men's game in Vermilion tonight, 7 o'clock here on Midco Sports Network with South Dakota State at South Dakota. And Jay Elsen and Brad Newitt will be on the call for this one. First time you've seen these guys live against each other since the Summer League tournament last year in the semifinals there. That was one of 3 games that were fabulous last year between State and the U.
Oh, man, it really delivered, didn't it? You had 3 games decided by 1, then 2, then 3, and, of course, the big one being that one. Jacks go on to win the tournament and go into the NCAA tournament. You know, heartbreak in a lot of ways for the Coyotes, but in terms of the rivalry itself, it delivered in every way, shape, and form a year ago. We're hoping this is just the first round of something similar that we're going to see again this season.
Let's take you back through last season, through the games last year in the regular season in Brookings. You take a look here, and this is going to be interesting tonight. Carlton Hurst is still injured for South Dakota.
Yeah, it's part of the X factor here. Tyler Peterson has played extremely well since he's moved into the starting lineup. Can he contain or help contain this Jacks offense, which has been incredibly dynamic this season?
Mike Dahm, of course, will play a huge part in this one. The Jacks were up by 8 in the first half of this ball game. Mooney with an incredible move there. USD, though, came back, took the lead midway through the second half.
Yeah.
And we're going to see Trey Birch Manning here on a bucket. Birch Manning made a 3-point play with about 11 seconds left to put USD in the lead.
And you kind of felt like maybe that was going to be the one that helped them finally get over the hump at Frost Arena, because they've had so much difficulty winning in that building over the years, particularly at the Division I level. But Mike Dahm comes back, hits this shot, somewhat controversial depending on which side of the fence you're on in this, I think.
That was the game winner, but yeah, technically that was a travel, yes. Like any spin move technically is, but he gets the bucket there, and South Dakota State wins that one 73-71. And that was the closest in this series. And again, 3 games decided by 6 points in these games last year. They went to Vermilion in February, and it was another close game. We'll take a look at that one. Also came down to the wire. It was a 2-point game. Not quite as dramatic, but this thing, Jay, is kind of the theme for this whole series. Teams make runs. They get up by 8, 10, 12 points. Yeah. It's never over, though.
No, I mean, guys like Reed Tellinghuse were a big reason this game didn't get over earlier last week. Tellinghuse just went nuts. 8 threes, career high for him. 28 points in this game. He's really filling it up. And he really kind of helped pick up the slack on what was a less than normal night offensively for Mike Dahm.
Guy flattened with a bucket there, but yeah, Telly had 3 threes in a big comeback. The Yotes led by 14 in the second half of this game. Matt Mooney,
ice water, right?
He was fabulous again. USD went on a 9-0 run.
All scored by
Mooney.
Matt Mooney.
To lead by 7 in the final minute. Jacks were in that zone defense last year, just daring him to shoot. Mooney against the zone here. SDSU, though, did come back, and this is what we're talking about. After they got down by 7 in the final minute, made this a close game, but Tyler Flack hit a couple of free throws down the wire, and the Coyotes pull it out 91-89.
6 lead changes over the final 6 minutes of that game, by the way, and that was just so much back and forth. That's what we're talking about when these games deliver on what we hope they're going to be. I mean, that's what you want, right? I mean, who wins, who loses? I mean, obviously, whichever side of that rivalry you're going to be on, you're obviously hoping for your team to win it. But I think if you go in and you're just a basketball fan, you can't help but appreciate the kind of things we saw out of this thing last year.
And those 2 were good in the regular season, but when we got to the Summit League tournament last year, it was South Dakota against South Dakota State in the semifinals. And you take a look here, and this game also come down to the wire in a 3-point game. USD got out and led huge in this game, 22-6. But again, it was not over. The Yotes up by 11 at halftime. Michael Orris, though, this was his game for South Dakota State. He had 15 in the first half to kind of keep South Dakota State around, and then he hits the bucket at the end. And again, USD gets out to the lead. In the second half of this game, Chris Howell got it going for South Dakota State. Jacks tied it up at 68. But again, it was Matt Mooney, who we'll see coming up here, who hits another big 3 in this series.
Yeah, this was 30 seconds left in the game. You thought, again, maybe this is the one that kind of puts it in the bag for him. But South Dakota State, Michael Orris had an answer. You know, all the way around, everybody's thinking the ball's going to Mike Dahm, even USC's defense, which they were working real hard to make sure didn't happen. So credit to Orris here for stepping up and hitting a shot that will go down in history, especially for the Summit League tournament in Sioux Falls, as one of the more memorable moments we will ever see.
Orris tied his season high with 20 points in that game. They added a couple of free throws after that in the final seconds, and South Dakota State won 74-71 in that ball game. So the Jacks took 2 out of 3. Each team won on their home floor during the regular season. Come down to that game in the Summit League tournament.
And remember, this was the second time we've seen these two teams match up in the Summit League tournament. This was the first time where it felt like they were two of the best teams meeting in that setting. And there was 12,000 people there. It was everything that we could have hoped for in terms of that. This was a dream come true in a lot of ways. We'd seen the two women's teams face off. This is the first time where it was quite this level of anticipation on the men's side. The first time they met, Jacks were a pretty heavy favorite. This time, the Coyotes kind of, they'd won the regular season and were kind of rolling. A lot of people were picking them to go on to the NCAA tournament. And the Jacks had something to say about that in the end. But it was, what a night, what a moment, that whole series last year. But again, just kind of culminating in that tournament environment, which is what we all get excited about.
Right, and in the Summit League right now, on the men's side, South Dakota State and South Dakota are kind of separating themselves. We're about halfway through the Summit League season, but they've got probably the two best players in the Summit League with Mike Dahm for South Dakota State, Matt Mooney for the Coyotes, and your research shows us these numbers
get a look at these numbers
going into tonight's game.
When you have your two teams facing off or your big rivals facing off, the whole goal is to get your best players to play their best, right? Well, these numbers are averages over the 3 meetings a year ago. How about this? Matt Mooney, 25 points a game. Dahm, 23 a game. Dahm is going to do a bit better on the glass because that's kind of more his thing. But this number right here, 4 steals a game. And Mooney, in my mind, for my money, is going to be one of those guys that he anticipates what the opponent wants to do with the basketball about as well as anybody I've ever seen. And so you've got two of the best players in mid-major basketball who delivered on this stage all 3 times they were on it a year ago. I don't expect that to change tonight. I think we're going to see a lot of fireworks out of 24 and a lot more out of 13 as well.
All right, so far this season, South Dakota State has been the big scoring team. The Jacks are averaging 92 points a game in their Summit League games so far. USD has only given up 67. That's a 25-point difference. Where do they meet as far as tonight?
Prototypical, right? The best offense against the best defense. And, I think that the whole key to this thing, in my mind, I think for one, the free throw line, who gets there and who converts, because USD, one of the top in the country at getting to the free throw line, making and attempting, 5 and 7, I think, respectively in that department. The other thing is the perimeter. Jacks make 11 threes a game. Coyotes give up about 6 a game. Something's got to give on one side or the other. So I think perimeter defense is going to play a huge role for USD in this game. And then who's going to get to the free throw line? And we saw it. Games decided by 1, 2, and 3. Free throws obviously going to play a part in that.
And just making shots. South Dakota State is shooting 51% from the field so far in the Summit League. USD is giving up 44% with that good defense. But if South Dakota State can go in there and get close to 50%, that is a great sign for the Jackrabbits. And that's what North Dakota State did to USD. When North Dakota State went to Vermillion and beat the Coyotes, they shot at 53% and made 11 threes.
Remember, USD 22-2 all time so far in the Sanford Coyote Sports Center. Both losses to North Dakota State, and on both of those nights, the Bison shot the basketball extremely well. So, that's not lost on USD, I don't think. I think there's a little extra motivation coming off last year and having something they felt was right there at their fingertips taken away from them, especially by who it was taken by. So, you throw that all together with the opportunity to play this game at home. Remember last year the first round of this was during the winter break, and so there weren't as many students around as there were normally. Tonight that's not going to be the case. The SCSC is going to be filled up. It's going to be loud. It's going to be exciting. A little bit different being a midweek game as opposed to a weekend game like we're so used to seeing with this series. And so that brings a little bit of an interesting dynamic to it as well. How many people are going to show on a weeknight?
Yeah, get to see Dahm, get to see Mooney. Tyler Hagedorn has been great for South Dakota. David Jenkins Jr. is a freshman for South Dakota State that has been giving Mike Dahm a run for his money as far as scoring for the Jackrabbits. Reed Tellinghusen is playing great for South Dakota State. Going to be so fun, man.
The depth, too. That's another thing in this. Jackrabbits have been keeping it pretty tight this year. They haven't had a lot of available bodies to work with. Granted, though, the top 3 of that rotation, you just mentioned them. Telly, Jenkins, Dahm. I mean, that's about as good as you can find in mid-major basketball, certainly, let alone the Summit League. Coyotes do go a little bit deeper and have gotten a little bit more help off the bench. So something, again, they got to meet somewhere in the middle when it comes to that. And I just think that's another reason to be really, really interested to see what happens, because whoever wins this game is going to be in the driver's seat, at least for the start of the second half.
All right. Have fun.
I'm going to.
All right, 7 o'clock tonight, South Dakota State at the University of South Dakota here on Midco Sports Network. Coming up next, we've got the results from yesterday's Trick Shot Tuesday Challenge, and we'll hear from some more of the Coyote men on what this rivalry means to them. Stay with us.